So what I'm going to do is I just want to share the first paragraph of this draft that is me being good, honest, but petty, but also led to a very generative discussion about how I can correct this going forward. But I did want to just share this just to, uh, so folks have an idea of what. So I'm looking at 150 years of Black capitalist narrative development. That's the working title so far. Although, because I had to change it because they don't the requirements for this publication are that you can't have um what is it, any postscripts, or there can't be a colon in the title, so you can't have your little whatever. So as it says here, he just wants to fight to cause trouble, said Dr. Julianne Malveaux of me during a recent radio panel. And then I had to go back. And that's what I forgot to say. What I enjoyed about this is that I had to go back and for the citations, I had to go back and get all of the actual citations, and it gave me a chance to go back and look at all of this. So he just wants to fight to cause trouble, said Dr. Julianne Malveaux of me during a recent radio panel discussion. This guy doesn't like Black business and doesn't want Black people to succeed, said Dr. Boyce Watkins during a recent video podcast. Willie D of the legendary Ghetto Boys rap group took to his Instagram account to explain to to explain that anyone saying what Jared Ball is saying is a coon, a rat coon. For his part, Ferguson, Missouri activist Tory Russell would first go on the podcast of rapper, activist, and host Talib Kweli to say I was wrong about the revolutionary potential of Black business, and then went on the platform formerly known as Twitter to proclaim that this year, 2024, would be the one where he puts an end to my way of thinking. The persistent, very public, and caustic condemnations of my work from Mike Rendor, aka rapper Killer Mike, including a vituperative tirade on the Breakfast Club, was seen by scholars recently as being worthy of inclusion in their latest research about the persistent Black-white wealth divide. But while these and more are directed at me, the condemnations are not personal, as they reflect a narrative defensiveness, which is a core feature of effective propaganda. So that's the poorly written start that I'm going to be working from in this chapter. I got some great tips on how to rewrite that, how to add some things, how to fix that, and then how to bring it back at the end so that it's not as petty as it comes off here. Though I am intending to have some fun with the fact that folks have been saying a lot of nasty things about me without justification. So and it did give me a chance to go back and look at this here too, which I admit when I see it is funny. It's just so unnecessary, but I do admit. So I just go to just this one, and I'll beg your forgiveness here.
$10 a month, $2.50 a week. That's $10 million a month, $120 million a year. Now, I know it's some people who done wrote books and shit about how the myth of the Black economic spending power. I'm not arguing that with niggas, man. Shouts out your book, my nigga. You know what I'm talking about, and you want me on your show, and I'm never gonna go, right? But there you go, nigga. That makes you happy. I've mentioned you.
I wouldn't say it makes me happy that I wasn't really mentioned, but indirectly referred. But it does make me laugh. It does make me laugh. And to quote a former classic movie, now yous can't come on the show. And just to be clear, he was invited to come on the show to clarify the argument and explain how, as he said, he read my book and found it to be flawed. That was it. It wasn't any hostility to it. That was it. But now you can't come on the show. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. But I do also want to share a little bit of some positive responses I've gotten recently from the work, which, well, before I get to some of the positives I've gotten, one of the things that was sent to me recently was something for some of us of a certain age will remember some of these comedians. But from the I think this is from the old BET Comic View, and it was to point out to me just how long and how prevalent and pervasive this myth of buying power has been. So let's check this out real quick. Yeah, BET's Comic View. Yeah.
My black people a lot. Because we ain't doing nothing with our money. We got a lot of brothers running down the field, the yard, every day, making hundreds of millions of dollars, ain't doing nothing with the money. Buying rims and pit bulls and shit. You think Bill Gates got pit bulls? Just one white man, Bill Gates, got $58 billion in stocks and bonds. Guess how many we got? Me, you, all the blacks in the United States, Shaq, all the Michaels. Guess how much we got? We got 11 billion. We're going to mess around and be slaves again. See what I'm saying? All this money, we ain't buying nothing but pit bulls. You think Bill Gates got rims on his car? You think Bill Gates got about 100 pit bulls? You think Bill Gates walk around with a bling bling 2000 chain on? A bling bling window 2000 chain. Somebody, Cash Money Boys bought me this one. Cash Money bought me this one.
So again, there's no stock to buy. And if people stop buying what Fanon called the colonial trinkets, the economy dies. Bill Gates is not rich because he doesn't buy chains. Bill Gates is rich because he took advantage of white male middle class access at a particular time, at a particular technological gap of the computing brilliance of others and the innovation of others, and then monopolized it. And by the way, there really aren't any other white Bill Gates either. So again, we keep saying we keep being encouraged to point to these rare exceptions that are rare even within a white world that is itself largely dominant and in control of the apparatuses that produce themselves. But it's just an example of how prevalent and how old and how it's just soaked into the fabric of uh, Black political and public sphere spaces without real investigation or critique. So it makes sense that I would still, or any of us would still be struggling to knock down some of these myths. But all right, so I just want to share a little bit of a note that I got, a couple of emails that I got actually. One, as it reads here, I was on a call with Melvin Coleman, president of the Atlanta Black Chamber. He was pushing that buying power myth, blaming our consumption habits for our problems. You know, the usual. I broke down how our community lacks the capacity to supply the needs for every Black person. I mentioned if you divide 1.8 trillion, our supposed buying power, by 40 million estimated number of Blacks in this country, you would get 45,000 for every Black woman and child. Sloppy arithmetic. I then mentioned myth and propaganda, Black buying power, and dropped your name. He couldn't clearly respond, kept saying we are consumers and the data shows that we consume. He also said that he was familiar with your work and that his colleagues who criticize the work do so because they believe that buying power exists. And if you're thinking what I was thinking when you read this, well, if he's acknowledging that people only criticize my work because they need to believe in it, then why are you promoting it? I asked that exact same question, and the person who sent me this said, I don't have an answer for you. It was a very confusing exchange. And in this other one, someone sent me an email asking about their Native and Black child, son, who they want to have some sustained exposure to your ideas and the naturally occurring challenges they force one to negotiate in regards to the status quo. Additionally, I want him to have a deeper understanding of the cultural and moral implications of him going to a traditional route of alcohol and tobacco marketing before he can work in places he thinks he wants to work, like Nike. Can you assist? So one, honestly, I said, listen, I can't promise much. I don't have too much capacity left to sort of, kind of take on another individual student or more work per se. But I absolutely said if he's ever in Baltimore or would like to sit in or come to class or even meet up for a lunch, we could probably make that happen. I just don't want to overpromise. But the point was, this person had been familiar with some of with the buying power work and the critique around advertising and marketing, saw his son headed in that direction and is asking if I can assist. And I absolutely will do the best I can. It's an honor. It's an honor. But it also speaks to sort of the ongoing problem that a lot of people are encouraged into various forms of so-called public relations, marketing, advertising, and are not really aware of the context. It's, again, one of the problems that I've ran into with the School of Communication, that we can't just be teaching people how to do it. We have to be teaching people the context in which they are doing it. And when we don't have that, it's very easy to have young, talented, brilliant people turned into relatively unaware, politically uninformed participants whose particular, in the case of a Black Indigenous person, could have their particular perspective and experience turned into, or have it be weaponized against those very populations. I always think immediately of when the Navy got Spike Lee to do recruitment videos, commercials. Who better to get Black and brown kids into the Navy than Spike Lee? Again, this then makes the work of many of us that much more difficult to accomplish. All right, a couple of other things related to buying power that were sent to me recently. I just would like to review with you all very quickly here before we move on.
Folks, it's your man, 100 Days of Summer. I want to make a video talking about this Little Mermaid stuff, but from a different perspective. So we're seeing a lot of Black representation in Hollywood now. We just had Black Spider-Man. We're about to have a Black Ariel. Of course, we have Black Panther. We got Black Lightning. We got Luke Cage, and it's going to keep going on and on. But what people don't understand is that this is by design. It's happening for a purpose. So in 2013, a company named Nielsen dropped a report basically saying that the Black consumer is now more relevant than ever because of our purchasing power, which is at $1 trillion annually, projected to be at $1.2 trillion by 2017. Really quick, that number has been updated to $1.4 trillion in 2019. It's expected that we're now at $1.8 trillion. If Black Americans were a country, where would we rank according to our purchasing power? According to PolitiFact, when you measure things correctly based on our purchasing power, we would be the 44th wealthiest country in the world. That would put us right around Romania out of a list of 189 countries. You think that's how we see ourselves, though? No. How much purchasing power did Black Americans have in the 1960s?
Today, the Black man, according to the government economist, has spending power of $20 billion per year. We feel that with the Black man spending $20 billion a year, not setting up any businesses, not creating any industry, not creating any job opportunities for his own kind, he's not in a moral position to point the finger today at the white man and tell the white man that he's discriminating against him for not giving him a job in factories that he himself set up. If the Black man has $20 billion, and these so-called Negro leaders are such geniuses that they can integrate white restaurants and integrate white factories and force themselves into that which the white man has set up, they should use this same ingenuity to show the Black people how to pool our wealth and set up something of our own.
$20 billion in 1960s money is now $213 billion.
Oh my God, this is terrible.
So we didn't stay in the same place. We actually grew. But did we do what Malcolm said? Did we pull that money together and build our own industries to employ us? No, we're still asking the government to help us. Let's get back to the video. It says that corporations have made a mistake by owning.
So hold on a second. That's just that. I didn't realize how long this video was, and it's just there's just so much nonsense in it. So first of all, initial claim of buying power coming from a Nielsen report is part of the problem. Nielsen, who references Selig, are again not measuring income or wealth. They're not measuring inequality. They're helping. The purpose of those reports that the exact one he referenced is the exact one I go over in my book. And the purpose of those reports, which he does not, and most people do not get to, even if they get this far, is to match ad revenue with commercial media. It has nothing to do with the actual amount of money that Black people have available to them to do whatever with whatever they would want with it. That's the first problem. Then he goes on to talk about the country issue, the size of Black America, were it all measured by purchasing power, as he said. That's not what those measurements are. They're measurements of GDP, which is, again, not a measurement of inequality in a given society, and it is not a measurement of where the wealth is. It's a measurement of the wealth created for those who own the economy. But by the way, again, what is the relationship of the country he compared us to the rest of the world? What is the relationship Romania has to the rest of the world? What powerhouse does Romania represent? No disrespect to Romanians. So again, even if we were this so-called independent Romanian equivalent nation, what does that allow us to be? What is the condition of people in Romania? All right, well, let's just do this real quick. Let's just do this by the Gini coefficient, which again argues I don't know to what extent it's perfectly accurate, but it's just a way that people often use to quickly assess the inequality in a given country. If the closer the number is to zero, the more equal a society is, the more redistributed wealth in a society is. So let's just see Romania. Whoops. Shows up with a Gini coefficient of 34.6. All right, so it's not as bad as I think South Africa was at the worst end at 63, but the United States is 39. So in other words, we should look to be as unequal as the United States. With all the wealth that this country has, it is less equal than Romania. So we're saying we just kind of want to slightly evolve to a 36 on a Gini coefficient. Again, my point here, my comparison here isn't great, but it is to point out that when you're ranking by GDP and saying where Black America would be vis-a-vis this other country without even considering the inequality within the country, you're missing the point of what GDP is and what really the point should be, period. Never mind, as I said, I don't know, but I'm sure the chat is answering right now, how Romania relates to Western powers. Then, of course, my man starts bringing in Malcolm, and this is something I also address in the book, that if you catch a lot of people at a specific time in their political evolution or development, you can catch them saying a variety of things. The bigger problem we often run into is with Du Bois, with his long career. People cherry pick that 100 years all the time, and they're doing the same thing here with Malcolm X. That speech, if I remember correctly, was being delivered in 1960. And if I remember correctly, I also show in my book that he's referencing reporting that's coming out in that same time from major media that is promoting the mythology for their purposes. And then it gets picked up by well-meaning Black radicals, nationalists, etc., for an argument that they want to make without understanding the basis of the claim in the first place. And then again, we're cherry picking. So if you're saying in this video that we should do what Malcolm said we should do, well then let's keep that same energy to where he's talking in 64 into 65. What was Malcolm advocating then? He certainly was not advocating buying power and Black capitalism then. All right, let's continue.
Only spending 3% of their marketing budget to target us, and that they need to expand that because we spend so much, and that to do it properly, they should target us in movie theaters in our neighborhoods that include Black casts or Black titles and Black cast.
And then listen to what he's arguing here. He's saying that what should happen is that they should target, white corporations should target Black communities with their advertising so that they can attract the revenue that Black people have to spend. That's exactly the point. And then what would we be advocating, by the way? Are you saying that Black people should withdraw from Hollywood and set up our own movie theaters and our own movie industry, and that would then capture our buying power? Or are you just simply saying what is often the falsely promoted as Black radical, but ultimately Black capitalist and conservative argument that you just want white advertising and white spending and revenue to be bought through you? Or you want white investors to invest in you, or white businesses to hire you?
That's in the movies, because that's where we feel more comfortable receiving marketing messages. This is what a company whose job is to research people to understand them better than they understand themselves, so that corporations can make more money. This is what their job, and this is the report that they said about us. So it's not a mystery.
So they don't say, so this tagline he's got here, the 44th wealthiest economy, that's not what they're saying. And buying power is not how you measure the wealth of a country or a community. So this is even a misreading of the report he's claiming to interpret for a more Black and radical purpose. The Nielsen report, the Selig report that they borrow from, are not assessing the wealth of the Black community. They're assessing what is available from the Black community to be spent on products advertised in Black media by white corporations. Black wealth is headed to zero. So this is again not a measurement of the wealth in the Black economy, or put differently, it is 15 cents on the dollar is where of the white dollar is where Black wealth is. So this is all falsely labeled here.
While we see more Black representation on TV. Now, this is the other thing. TV shows.
By the way, again, that's not why you see more Black representation on TV. It is not to capture Black revenue. It is to mollify and confuse Black analysis.
Those movies only exist for commercials. That's the purpose of Hollywood, is to. So and what we say is, yeah, I know. I see the Coke can, I see the McDonald's logo, I see the product placement, but you don't see the product placement of identity. That's the true purpose of Hollywood, is to sell identity concepts and mindsets.
It's more ideological and propagandistic, which is also what is helping confuse this analysis. But yeah.
It's just propaganda. That's what the purpose of propaganda is to get my idea into you and to get you to take action on it. That's what it is.
But he doesn't seem to understand that the myth he's promoting here, this $1 trillion, is itself propaganda devised as a Black capitalist tool, which is itself devised as a tool to mollify, distract, distort Black radical consciousness, organizational capacity, and movement building, so that people will be convinced that all we need to do is somehow pool all of our resources. I mean, it's a complete misunderstanding. Yeah, so it's meant to take Black people away from what is our only real, actual collective potential, which is movement building to assume political power. It is not so that we can pool our few dollars and then somehow business our way into power.
So it's like, hooray, but be cautious. That's I guess that's what I mean.
Yeah, that's again, I don't even think they read the entire Nielsen report. Those Nielsen reports, you know, I've gone through them many times here and a little bit in my book, but they're not there to explain to Black people the Black economic condition. That's all right. We got one more. Got one more. Folks were busy sending me a lot of these lately. So the myth is busy lately, apparently. So let's check out another one.
Most of you know, I did a economic group experiment with Pinky Cole, and it was excellent. So it made me think, why are Black-owned businesses closing right now? I'll just say that the mess just got real. I read a report the other day that said it's the most that people have used like credit cards to buy groceries. I just feel like Black businesses are suffering because big businesses are suffering, you know, and it's survival of the fittest. Like, there's certain opportunities as well that are now gone because of this whole DEI. You're given to women, you're given to Black women. That whole ship has sailed. Some of the funding, some of the money, some of the things that used to exist are no longer there. So there's businesses where we were kept afloat by some of these things. They are gone. If the big businesses don't have it to give, the small businesses don't have it. It is integral to diversify your income. So even if you have a business that is doing, you know, whatever, fashion, t-shirt design, e-commerce, it is important for you to have an e-commerce arm, have a nonprofit arm if you can. I think it's important for you to have a, you know, training arm, facilitate some type of like training. Do get where the money resides, and that is where you continue to pull from for your small business.
So that really wasn't about buying power, but what it was a whole bunch of
Message.
all of this argument around why we should support small or Black businesses to build our way to political power is just debunked right there. Nobody's investing in Black businesses or Black women businesses, and big businesses are suffering because people are broke. And just like in the broader economy, when people don't have as much money to spend, business suffers. But Black people are Black businesses are permanently targeting a community that, as the Economic Policy Institute said years ago, is in a permanent recession. So Black businesses are only ever targeting Black communities that are always in some sort of economic distress and never in a position of capability to evolve themselves into something bigger. This is why the end goal always is, can some big white corporation buy me out?
I mix what I like, what I like, what I like, what I like, what I like.